Hi friends, welcome to my channel Malinko Yarncraft. I am Alicia and in today's tutorial I will show you how to make the V puff stitch, also known as the Puffy V stitch. This stitch is absolutely beautiful, especially when worked in multiple colors. It creates a pretty thick fabric, and as you can see it is quite a yarn eater. Since it does take up a lot of yarn, it is more commonly used in smaller projects such as scarves, bags, cup cozies, and other smaller accessories. I am using a medium weight 4 cotton yarn and a 5mm hook, but you're welcome to use any yarn you would like. Just make sure that you do use a hook size recommended on your yarn label. If you do use a different yarn, please note that the number of loops needed to create the puffs here will depend on the thickness of your yarn strand, so it will depend on the yarn weight. And I will show you what I mean by that later. There are a couple of slight variations of the stitch floating around, so I will just show you how I make mine. The beginning row of puffs, of the V puffs, doesn't look so great if you work it directly into a chain, into a foundation chain. So we're actually going to work a row of single crochet and then go into a V puff pattern and work that into a row of single crochets. And our row of single crochets needs to be a multiple of 3 plus 2. So our foundation chain, we're gonna need one extra chain, so a total of multiple of 3 plus 3, so a total of multiples of 3. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with a slip knot and then chain any multiple of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, and so on. I'm going to chain 30. Now for my setup row, I'm going to work a row of single crochets starting in the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2. One row of single crochets. So one single crochet into every chain. At the end of row 1, you will have 29 stitches. So basically we need a total of multiple of 3 plus 2 for our base row before we start working on our V puff stitches. Right, to start row 2, we're going to chain 3 and turn. These 3 chains will count as a double crochet. We're going to skip one single crochet and then work our puff stitch into the next one. To work our puff stitch, you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that next stitch. So we're skipping one, insert your hook into the next one, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now make sure you stretch it out a little bit so that it has the height of like a half double crochet. Now you're going to yarn over again, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Again, stretch it out so that they're all the same length. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, so we did this 3 times. We're going to do this one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, pull up a loop. Okay, so now we have a total of 9 loops on our hook. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 8 right here, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. And we've made our first puff stitch. Now for the V, we want to chain 1 here and then work another puff stitch into the same stitch. So yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, stretch them out so that they're the same length. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So that's 2, 2 more times, that's 3, 1 more time, and that's 4. Again, I have 9 loops on my hook. Yarn over, pull through 8 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and we've made our first V stitch, V puff stitch right here. So to recap, we started the row by chaining 3, and this is counted as a double crochet. Then we skipped 1 stitch here, and we didn't count this very first one because technically this is where our double crochet, so these 3 chains, they come out of this first stitch here. So this one was used up, right? So then we have 1 that we skipped, and then we worked into the next one, and we worked 2 puff stitches with a chain in between. Our puff stitch consists of yarn over 4 times. Depending on the yarn size, you can adjust this as well. So you can do only 3 yarn overs if you have a bulky yarn, or if you're working with a thin yarn, sport weight yarn, you might even want to do 5 or 6 yarn overs. Okay? So this is a medium weight yarn, and I find that 4 yarn overs is just perfect amount of puff here for me. We're going to continue by skipping 2 stitches. So we're going to skip the next 2 single crochets, and then in the next single crochet we're going to work another V puff stitch cluster. So yarn over, skip the next 2 stitches, and then insert your hook into that next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, stretch them out a bit, yarn over, go into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So this is 2 more times, this is 3 and 4, yarn over, pull through 8 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2, chain 1 here for the V shape, and repeat your puff stitch into the same single crochet. So yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, so 4 times, 3 and 4, yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2, and we have 2 puff stitches, 2 puff stitch clusters. Here we go, and we're going to continue the same until we have 2 stitches left. Okay, so yarn over, skip 2 stitches into the next one, work a puff stitch, yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, another puff stitch into the same stitch, alright, and we have 3 clusters. So continue working until the end of the row, and I will meet you here when we have 2 stitches left. Right here we are, almost at the end of this row, row 2, and I have a total of 9 V puff stitch clusters. So now we have 2 stitches left in this row. We're going to skip 1 stitch, and then to the very last stitch we're going to work a regular double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that last stitch in the row, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and row 2 is finished. You can continue working with the same color yarn, or you can change colors at this point. I find that this stitch looks really pretty when you switch colors every row. and I will be working with 3 different colors. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and change my yarn color, and I'm going to go with white. So to change colors, we need to do that on the very last pass through of the last stitch of the previous row. So this is our last stitch in this row. So before we start the next row with a new yarn, we need to change it out right here. So I'm going to go 1 step back before my last yarn over. Okay, then I'm going to grab my new yarn color and finish off this double crochet with this new yarn color right there. Now I can go ahead and cut this pink yarn, and I'm going to continue with my white yarn. We can tie these two later and secure them. For now, I'm going to continue. So to start row 3, we're going to work the same way as we did in the beginning of row 2. So chain 3, which will count as a double crochet, and turn. Now we're going to work our puff stitches into the chain spaces right here. So into every chain space, we're going to work a V puff stitch cluster. So yarn over, go into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, again stretch them out, and then do that 3 more times, so a total of 4 times. Yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2. Now chain 1 and work 1 more puff stitch into the same chain space. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, pull through 8, yarn over, pull through 2, and here's our first puff stitch cluster in row 3. All right, we're going to work the same thing into the next chain space. Chain 1 and 1 more puff stitch. And we're just going to continue this row in the same manner. So you're going to work your V puff stitch clusters into every chain space, and then once you complete your last one, I'll meet you back here. Okay, here we are at the end of this row, and we need to make 1 more double crochet. So yarn over, and we're going to work our last double crochet into the top of that turning chain. So the 3rd chain here at the top of that turning chain right there. There we go. And again, if you are just working with 1 color, you will just chain 3 and turn and continue working. And I am going to change my color to my 3rd color. So 1 step back. So if you want to see it from the beginning of the double crochet, I will work for those first 2, and then before finishing off my double crochet, I'm going to change it over to my new yarn color and work that last pull through with my new color. Now I can go ahead and cut my white yarn. I'm going to continue working with the new yarn color. And now we're going to work the exact same thing, so chain 3 and turn, and we're going to repeat row 3. From now on, we're going to keep repeating row 3 until we reach the desired number of rows for our project. So now we're going to work our V puff stitches into every chain space in this row. So we're just going to keep repeating this row, row 3, by working chain 3, work the puff stitch clusters into every chain space, and then work a double crochet into the top of the turning chain here. Okay, so I finished a few more rows here and I'm ready to tie it off. So I'm going to cut, chain, and pull all the way through and fasten off. Here we go. And this is what it looks like after you have a few more rows in different colors. Okay, if you worked with multiple colors like I did, at the end of your project you will have to deal with these yarn tails with different colors, right? So the first thing we want to do is make sure that they're securely tied together so that they don't come apart later on. So we're going to tie them in twos, so 2 colors at a time, right there where the color changes happened, right? So I'm going to double knot them in pairs, and you want to make sure that you tie it very gently here. You don't want to pull too hard because you don't want this end row here to bunch up. So we're going to do it twice. So double knot right here. Same thing in the next one. There we go. And so on, and repeat until you tie all of them together except for the ones that are actually fastened already. And then afterwards you'll have a couple of options. If you work a project that requires a border, then you won't have to weave these ends in. You will just work them into your border. If you don't have a border, you will have to weave them in with a tapestry needle. And when you do that, you just have to watch out that you weave in the color behind the same color. So this one is going to go in here, and then this one is going to go up this way, and I'm going to weave it in behind the same color. The third option would be to make tassels here on the side. And of course that will depend on the project and what works best for your project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please make sure to give it a like. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what other stitches you'd like to learn. And if you go to my channel, you will find more tutorials for different crochet stitches. So make sure to subscribe to my channel to get notified anytime I upload a new tutorial. Thanks again, and happy crocheting!